Hello there and welcome. In this episode, we're going to continue working on our base building system. So before we continue with our construction manager, I just want to run the game and see what we have so far. So before we can run the game, there is something that we forgot to do. If we look at these ghost items, then we need to provide this solid collider reference. So all we need to do is simply take this reference from this box collider, the one that is not triggered, and drag it into this solid collider. Now don't select all of them and do it at once because they will all receive the box collider of one ghost. So just go over each one and do it one by one. Now that they all have the reference, we can come over here and apply this prefab, the changes, and we can start the game and let's see what we have. So we don't have any foundation, we need to craft it. So let's just take the axe. Of course, for testing, we can just drag a foundation into our inventory, but let's do it this way. And we need to craft planks. Maybe I'm going to add some kind of progress bar in the future to see that, so the player can actually see that it takes a few seconds to construct. And now we can construct this foundation. And the idea is that when we left click it, we can just drag it around, but when we right click it, then we have this foundation model sitting inside our construction holder, and we can move around with it and decide where to place it. Okay, so it's a very freestyle kind of system. It's not based on a grid system. It's not based on some kind of area. You can place it wherever you want. Now, of course, we set the boolean to check if it's touching the ground. And if it's not touching the ground, then it's going to be red. It's going to be invalid for construction. Also, if it's touching the ground but it's overlapping a tree or any object, it's also going to be invalid. Only when we actually touch the ground. And you may think that it's not touching the ground, but it's probably touching the ground on the other side. And we always need to do adjustments, and especially in a game like that, in a landscape like that we have a lot of hills and a lot of curves. If we had just a plain game, right, just a flat surface, it would be easier. We could just place it. But over here we have these little hills, so we do have to do adjustments eventually, because it's not going to be perfect. Okay, sometimes it's going to be a bit in the air, other times it's going to be underground and it will still be green, like that. Maybe it's fine for you, but it's not ideal for the player to build the foundation like that. Or maybe if we build it like that, then we want to make this ground above it disappear. But for now, we can just go, and when we decide to place it, let's go over here. We just select a spot, it's green. Now we can left click and it's going to place it. It's going to change the color to its default material. And we also see these ghosts. Now these ghosts are going to be invisible eventually, right? We're not going to keep this semi-transparent color, it's just for testing. Now with these ghosts, if we want to select another foundation, okay, and you can also see that it did not delete this foundation yet. So we also need to take care of that. We also want to take care of if we decide to place the foundation and eventually we don't really want to place it, right? We regret, we want to do something else. We're going to right click on the mouse and it's going to disappear, and then the foundation item will still be in the inventory. Only if we actually left click, it's going to place it. So we want to be able to cancel it. Now we can place it over here. We have ghosts over here, ghosts over here. Now it may seem like it's confusing because these ones don't align, but the point is that when you build something, it's going to be one whole unit. It's going to be a house. So if you select a foundation right now and you hover, you can build another house over here, or you can expand this house. So if you want to expand this house and you want these foundations to be aligned perfectly, you can just hover over these ghosts and then it will offer you to place the foundation instead of these ghosts. Okay? And that's why we created all of these ghosts. And then when we place another foundation over here, it's going to offer a few more ghosts over here. But you can see the problem that over time, we get a lot of these ghosts. And if we place another item over here, then there will be ghosts over here and over here. So we are going to have multiple ghosts in the same spot. So we don't want this, right? And it's going to affect the performance of the game. We don't want a lot of game objects inside the game, even if they're going to be invisible. Let's just craft the foundation once again. I also need to add a bit more gravity because it falls like a bit strange. So let's go over here. Let's craft some planks. We also need arrows to go back in these menus. We don't want to always close them and reopen them. We want to just go back. So we're going to do all of that. And then we craft the foundation. And you can see that when we right click on the foundation, right now, the construction holder is empty, but when we right click on it, we have this foundation model inside the construction holder. When we place it, right, and of course we also have these ghosts inside of it, but when we place it, then it goes and becomes a child of the actual root of our scene. It's no longer inside this construction holder, it's in the root. And all of these ghost children are also in the root. And of course, we don't want this to happen. We want to extract all of them. We want all of them to go and be also children of the root, because later we want to be able to replace them with another foundation, and we don't want the other foundation to appear inside of this foundation. So right now it's not working because we still need to add some code. But you get what is going on. And of course, when we have multiple ghosts in our scene, we want to be able to delete the one that we don't need or the one that overlap, okay? And that's it for the way it works. Now we are going to go back into the script and see the rest of the code. So before we go over all of these get ghosts and perform ghost deletion scan, let's understand how the code works. So we need to skip these, and it's just the order, right? It doesn't really matter. First of all, we have the update. So in the update, if the item to be constructed is not null, it means that we're actually holding something and we're also in construction mode, then it's going to check valid construction position. So it basically checks if the construction item is green or red, right? So it's a method, and this is the method. It simply checks if the constructible item from the constructible script is valid to be built. And you remember this boolean inside the constructible script, right? If all of our conditions are met, this will become true. And then we know that we can actually build this item. And over here, we return true if this is true, or we return false if this is not true. But if it's true, then it's going to return false, and we're not going to even get to this part of the method. So we're going to return this boolean, and over here in the update, we are going to know that it's actually a valid location. So it's going to set this other boolean is valid placement true, and it's going to change the color of this foundation, let's say, right? We said that we're going to use these methods inside the constructible. So we're going to change the color to valid, or we're going to change the color to invalid. And all of this will happen in real time because it's all inside the update. Now, if we want to construct something, we also need to send a raycast, right? Because when we point at something and we have this item inside our head, we want to point on the ground to place the item, or we want to point at one of these ghosts, right? If we're pointing on one of these ghosts, then we want this ghost to be selected, and then we simply want to place our foundation inside or instead of this ghost. So for this, we need a raycast. So we're simply creating a ray that comes out from the middle of our mouse, which is just the middle of the screen, right? Our cursor. And then it hits something, and we check if the thing that it hit is a ghost, then make the item itself invisible, right? False. Set that we're actually selecting a ghost to true, and set the selected ghost to be the ghost that we are pointing at, right? With the raycast. Else, set selecting ghost to false and item to be constructed to true, right? So this will work for these ghosts, and when we point at a ghost, it will recognize that it's a ghost, and it will change this selected ghost variable into the ghost that we are pointing at. And then by using this, we can say to the actual ghost, change your color, right? When you're selected, be green. When you're not selected, be transparent again. And you're going to see how it works. Now, over here, we also have another if inside of this update. So if we left click on the mouse and we're inside construction mode, and it's a valid placement, and we are not selecting a ghost, then we simply want to place the item freestyle. It means we just want to place the item somewhere inside our scene, right? It doesn't matter where. We're just placing it somewhere on the ground. But if we're actually selecting a ghost, then place item in ghost position. So we're actually replacing the ghost with the item. And that's what I was talking about when we actually point at a ghost and we left click. So this ghost will become the new foundation. So these are two different methods, and each one just performs a different type of construction or a different type of positioning, right? Here we're just freestyling the position, and here we're placing the item instead of a ghost, and we're also passing the ghost as a parameter. Now we're going to add code over here. If we actually decide to cancel, we're right-clicking on the mouse. So let's right-clicking on the mouse. So we're going to disable the construction. And these are the two methods. They're kind of long, but we're basically just getting a copy of this ghost. We're taking the position of the ghost. We're setting our item or ghost to be false. Then we set the parent of our item to be the parent of the parent, okay? Because this is the root of our scene. The parent of the ghost is the root of our scene. And then we set the position of our new foundation to be the position of the ghost. We are simply replacing between the foundation and the ghost. Then we're also running this extract ghost members like we talked about in the previous episode. We set the default color for the constructible. We renamed the tag to placed foundation, so we also need to create this new tag. And we enabled the collider, because right now we do want the collider to be enabled. Then we run this get all ghosts that we're going to talk about, and this perform ghost deletion scan. So basically we just want to get all the ghosts from this item before we extract it. And even if we extract it over here, it's going to work because it still is inside the list of this item. Okay, so we simply go to the list inside this item and we get all the ghosts. And then we also perform a scan to see if some of these ghosts are overlapping. And if they're overlapping, we're simply going to delete one of them. And then we set the item to be constructed to null because we don't have an item to be constructed because we actually place the item. And we're no longer in construction mode, right? Because after we place the item, we exit construction mode. And this freestyle is basically the same, okay? But instead of replacing the position with the ghost position, we're simply placing it where we selected, right? So we just set it to be the child of the root and we do all the rest, okay? So it's basically the same thing like this one, just without setting the position instead of the ghost, okay? We're just placing it freestyle. And this we talked about. Now inside of these ghosts, let's see what is going on over here. First of all, before we forget, let's create this placed foundation tag. So simply go over here and create this tag. I already created this tag, but we also need to create it. Although we're not going to tag anything right now, we are going to set this tag inside the code at some point when we actually place the foundation, but we need to create this tag. So if we go to the construction manager, we also have these two methods over here. And basically this one takes all the ghosts from this item that we want to construct, all the ghosts inside the list, so basically all his ghosts, and it saves them inside this list, and then it adds them into this list, all ghosts in existence, okay? So it takes them from this and it adds them to this list. And this list is something that our manager is looking at. So this manager has this all ghosts in existence list because he's going to do it for any construction item that we're going to create. So we're going to create other foundations and the other foundation will also have ghosts. So all of these ghosts will come inside of this list. And then we're going to do this method. So we're simply going to go over all the ghosts inside this list. And what we basically do here, we do a multidimensional loop, okay? We basically compare all the ghosts with themselves. And if two ghosts have the same position, it means that they're overlapping and it means that we need to delete one of them. Okay, so I'm not going to explain all of this. I just want to make it quicker. I don't want to waste time on all of this logic, but it's very simple to understand. We simply go over all the ghosts, all the children, and if one ghost is not equals to the other ghost, it means that these are separate ghosts, and then we simply check if the position of this ghost is equal to the position of this ghost, then it means that they're in the same position, and it means that we are going to mark one of these ghosts as has the same position, okay? And when we finish all of this, we're simply going over all the list of all ghosts in existence and we check if a ghost item is marked as has same position, so simply destroy it, okay? And these are just two methods that convert the position into a more rounded float, right, over here. So we simply take this entire position, which is a long number, and we simply make it into actually it's something like that, okay? Because we do want to be less precise, because sometimes if we check this position and we check it with this position, sometimes, or even something like that, sometimes even if we place them in the same position, it will sometimes change to 2, and then we are going to think that they're not in the same position and it's not going to delete them, right? So we want to be more accurate. That's why using these, we're rounding it to be something like that. And over here, it's always going to be correct, so we can actually compare between the accurate values, okay? So this is what we're doing in both of these. This is for the X and this is for the Z. Now again, there's nothing complicated. If you follow the code, you're going to understand what is going on, but I don't want to waste time on explaining all of this. So let's just close all of this. And we talked about this one, and we talked about this one, and also this one, and the update. Yeah, also the update. Now we need to do a few more things. First of all, inside the ghost item, we did not talk about this script, but basically we have all of these materials and we also set the collider to be false in the beginning, and then according to the different states inside the construction manager, we are going to change the ghost to be solid or not. And we also check if it's actually the selected ghost, because if it's the selected ghost, then we want to set the green color. If it's not the selected ghost, we want to set the semi-transparent. And of course, later we're going to change it to be full transparent, right? So if we hover and point at this ghost, we want this ghost to become green. Okay, so this is what is going on. And this script is going to sit on all of these ghosts, okay? So we talked about this. Now, inside the constructible, we also need to uncomment this. And this will basically just set all of these solid colliders to be false when we finish constructing, right? Because when we finish constructing, we don't want to stumble upon these ghosts. They are going to be invisible, and we don't want to just hit them and the player won't understand why he can't move forward, right? Because we want to disable the colliders when they're actually placed. And the reason we want to enable them inside the construction mode is because only when the collider is enabled, we can point at him with the raycast, right? If the collider will be disabled, we are not going to be able to point at him with the raycast. Now let's save this as well. The next thing we want to do is to make the option to disable the construction. So when we decided to construct something, but then we just regretted it, and now we just want to exit construction mode. So we're going to be able to right click on the mouse and we're going to exit the construction mode. Because if we run the game right now, I don't want to craft every time. Let's just take this foundation and place it inside the inventory just for testing. Okay, so now we have a foundation inside the inventory. Let's run the game. Let's make it bigger. So right now we want to place the actual item, but what if we decided to cancel this? If we right click on the mouse, nothing will happen. So we want to right click on the mouse and just exit construction mode. So that's what we're going to do. So inside the construction manager over here, we're going to add new code, okay? So up until now, we covered all the code that I provided for you, but now we're going to add more code, new code, okay? So we're going to create a new method and we're going to name it destroy item. It's going to receive a game object and it's going to destroy it. Destroy immediate item inventory. Well, it's basically the thing that we're doing over here. We're doing this inside the inventory item. We're doing this, right? So we don't need this anymore because we're going to do it inside the construction manager. So just copy all of this, delete this, and go back over here. Of course, save this and go back into the construction manager and paste your code over here. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to destroy the item and recalculate our inventory, but only when we actually call this method and provide an item, okay? Because as you know, we have two different methods for placement, right? We have this place item in ghost position and place item freestyle. So in both of them, we're going to use this method. So let's save this. And if we go into the inventory item, we also have this on pointer down, on pointer up. See, where's the on pointer down? We want to change this code a bit. So we no longer destroy the item when we release the button over here. Where was it? There's a lot of code. We need to organize it a bit. Not this one. Let's close this. This is the use item. So let's take this and place it over here. Right, so we deleted the part that actually destroys the item when we release the click. But over here, we're still going to use the item when we click on the item. But now we want to change it a bit, right? Because we don't need this variable anymore because we're not going to delete it over here. So we're going to delete this item pending to be used. And we can also delete it from here. But inside the construction manager, we're going to create a new property and we're going to name it public game object item to be destroyed. And it's basically going to be the same thing, but it's just going to be inside the construction manager. So now we're going to go back into the inventory item, and over here, we're going to reference this construction manager instance item to be destroyed, and we're going to set our item to be the item to be destroyed, not constructed. Item to be destroyed. Okay. And for now, let's also hide the item when we actually decide to create it, right? Because when we click on the item inside the inventory, we do want to hide it, even though we're not going to be able to open the inventory when we're in construction mode, okay? Only when we exit the construction mode, we're going to be able to open the inventory and see the item. But it can only happen if we cancel the construction or if we actually place the item. But if we place the item, we are going to delete the item anyway, right? Like we did over here. So for now, we just want to hide it, even though we're not going to even be able to see it. So game object, set active, false. So this is kind of pointless, but we want to do it right now. And let's save this. And now in the construction manager, we can go to the button down. Let's see, where is it? The update. And over here, when we actually place the item, we want to delete it from the inventory as well. So destroy item, we're using this method that we created right over here. So destroy item, and we're simply going to pass it this item to be destroyed, right? The one that we created right now. And we're going to do the same thing over here, because it doesn't matter if we place it freestyle or place it instead of a ghost, we want to destroy it. So here we're placing the actual model, but here we're destroying the UI item from the inventory, okay? Because when it's placed, it should no longer exist inside the inventory. So we can also see this in action. If we go over here and we run the game. So let's see, let's place it. So right now we don't see it because we set it to be disabled, but we can still see it inside the inventory, right? The foundation. So now if we actually place it, it should delete it from the inventory, okay? Okay, so it didn't work. Okay, the reason it didn't work is because I think I did a mistake. Yes, inside the construction manager, inside the destroy item method that we created, by mistake, I set the game object to be deleted. So we're basically deleting the construction manager itself. So that's a mistake. We need to delete the item that we're passing, okay? So it was just a typo, and now we can save and it should work. So we can see the foundation over here. We can see it inside the inventory. We right click on it and it's inside our hand. The actual model is inside our hand, and the UI foundation is still in the inventory, but it's disabled. But now when we actually place the model, then the foundation itself is deleted from the inventory. So we can no longer see it over here. Now, we also want to disable the option to open the inventory or any other menu while in construction mode. So to do that, we go over here. Over here, when we click on the left mouse button, we place the item in one of these ways. But if we want to cancel the construction, all we need to do is right click on the mouse, okay? So we're going to set the item to be destroyed, set active to be visible again, right? Because we simply made it invisible while we're still deciding if to place it or not. Then we're going to set the item to be destroyed to be null because we don't have any reference to any item. And we're going to destroy the item that we instantiated inside our hand, inside the construction holder. So destroy item, item to be constructed. And item to be constructed is now null. And the order is also important because if we set it to be null and then we destroy it, it will not find it because it's null. So this order is important. Also over here, we first set it to be true and then we set it to be null. And we also want to exit construction mode. So in construction mode equals false. What we actually want to do is not right click on the mouse, because if we right click on the mouse, then it's going to create some kind of contradiction. Imagine we are over here and then we right click on this foundation to construct it, but because the way the update method works, it will think that we clicked on the right mouse key also inside the construction mode. So it will immediately disable the construction mode, okay? So it will use the item, it will go into construction mode, but because of the frames, it will simply register this right mouse press 2 times, and then it will simply cancel us out of the construction mode right away. So you can do the right mouse click, but you should create some kind of boolean that checks if you actually decided to cancel, and then it will not do this contradiction. We don't care about if it's going to be the right mouse, so we're simply going to use another key. We're going to use the get key down key code X, okay? So when we press on the X key, it will simply cancel the construction. And of course, we're also going to show the user all of these options, okay? So the user doesn't have to guess what key to press. We're going to show him some kind of UI. And we don't care about this valid placement because it doesn't really matter if it's valid or not. Okay, so now let's save this. Let's go back. Let's close this and let's run the project again. So now we decided to place the item. We're in construction mode, and for some reason we want to cancel it. So if I press the X key, it simply removes this foundation model and we're out of construction mode. Now if we go back into the inventory, this item is not deleted because we never deleted it, right? We simply set it to be false and now we set it to be active again. Only when we actually place it, then we delete it, okay? So this works as well. Now we're actually going to take care of not allowing these menus to be opened. So we simply go into our different systems, okay? Let's go to the inventory system, and over here, when we open the menu, we simply want to add another condition. Construction manager instance in construction mode. So when we are not in construction mode, then we can open the inventory menu. Otherwise, we are not going to be able to open the construction menu. And we're going to do the same thing with the crafting system. So let's open the crafting system. Over here, and we add it as well. And another place we want to add it is inside the equipable item. And the reason we want to place it over there is because we don't want to swing our axe while we are in construction mode, because there is no point, right? So let's go inside the inventory item, not the inventory system, inventory. No, actually the equipable item. And over here, we're going to add another condition. We don't need this. So if we're not in construction mode, we are going to be able to swing our axe or any tool, okay? So if we save everything and we go back into our game, save the game, we can also keep this. Let's just remove it from the inventory. Let's craft it and see how everything is working. So now we want to create a foundation. So we go over here, we chop this tree. And we're going to craft some planks, and we're going to craft this foundation. So now, when we right click on this foundation, we can place it anywhere we want. We can also press on X to disable the construction. And when we're inside the construction mode, if I press the I key or the C key, no menu is going to get opened, right? And now if I decided to place it over here, I have all of this and I can walk around, and all of these ghosts have no collider, right? Because we disabled the collider. But this one has a collider, right? And now if we want to craft another foundation, first of all, we simply need to get some more logs. Of course, we can play with all of these recipes. Maybe we can create more foundations with less trees, maybe not. It's really about the balance of your game. So let's take these. So it takes one tree to craft one foundation in this game. So let's do this. Let's craft this. And now, if we want to craft another foundation, we can right click on it and we can place it in another part of the world. But if we want to place it near this one, we can simply point at these ghosts and the ghost will become green. Okay, if we don't point at these ghosts, then we're going to see our model again. But if we point at the ghosts, then the model is going to get disabled for now. And we can also see already a little bug that if we move around, these ghosts are still green. So it's something we need to take care of, but there's a lot of fine-tuning eventually that we need to do. But now we decided that we want to place it over here. So we're going to left click and it's going to build it over here. And we see the new ghosts over here. And because there were supposed to be two ghosts overlapping each other over here, right? These ghosts, but also the ghosts from this foundation, because of the method that deletes them, we only see one ghost over here because there were two and one of them got deleted. So now we don't have overlapping ghosts. And we can keep doing it, building a house, building more foundation. And the next thing we need to take care of is actually building the walls. but this will happen in the next episode. And I know that it takes a long time. It's already the 4th episode that we're going to have, but in the next episode, after building the walls, we're basically done with the building system, because all you're going to have to do after that is create more things to craft by yourself. For example, if we want a door, all you need to do is build a wall model that has a door in it. So you don't need a special code for the door. The code will be the same as for the wall and for the door, and also for the window. If you want to craft a foundation from stone, you don't need another code. You can just use another model that is called stone foundation. It will look differently and it will be from a different material, right? So we already created the base structure of the system. Now we only need to finish creating these walls, and then it's really about you. In the future, we're also going to add more things, like maybe special things inside the house, for example, a second floor, or maybe stairs and things like that. But I don't want to spend too many episodes on this one system. I show you the base way we create the system, and then you can build upon it. And in the future, we're going to add more things into the system, because I want to continue to other things like saving the game and doing quests and adding characters into the game and collecting things and crafting things, other things. We also want to place items inside our house, for example, boxes that will contain items, storage boxes, or maybe some kind of workbench that we're going to be able to use for different things. So there's a lot of things, and I don't want to spend too many episodes on one system. But after the next episode, we are going to have this functional base building system with foundations, with walls, with doors, with windows, and the rest is really something you need to add by yourself, but you don't need to create something new. You only need to create new models, right? You already have the code itself. So that's all for this episode. Thank you for watching. As I told you from the start of this system, it's a bit long, it's a bit complex, but there's no way around it. We need to do all of this to create such a system. And it also took me a lot of time to figure out the code, to write this code from scratch. And I really hope that you learned something from all of these tutorials. So we're going to continue and finish this system in the next episode. That's a promise. And then we're going to continue to other stuff. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you're still not subscribed. And see you next time.